Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order Last Days of Europe as the West Russian Republic. Last video, we beat back Samara through totally legitimate means, and right now we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. Gospodin Shafarevich would like to wish luck to all settlers moving to the countryside. The company is pleased to report that in the last month alone has received unknown amount of rubles from the Shafarevich administration. Additional factories have opened in unknown, with our workforce increasing by 15%. Gospodin Shafarevich has also promised additional funding in excess of 50% of all of the original amount for all companies willing to employ disenfranchised farmers. So-called rural initiative is part of a plan to modernize the agricultural sectors and diversify the economy. Strongly advise all executives to heed this proposal, specifically by expanding into unknown. Further plans call all for a moral economy. The peasant will take priority in job applications. All companies whose workforce is at least 60% by the state is granted in excess of 80% of original grants. Accepted and signed. Let's go ahead. Let's do compassionate conservatism. For the past 5 decades of Russian history, the nation has undergone sweeping changes. First came the empire, was facilitated between autocracy and a constitutional monarchy. Then the republic came to being, which failed to compromise between the ideals of the founders. Finally, our lifetime of the union, and how it has failed. Nationally shattered. The unity between the Russian people was subsumed under the subordinate by the elite. Now the time has come to power in the Republic of West Russia. President Shafarevich's ideas as to how to revive and rejuvenate Russia. Key to his plans is ideology that of compassionate conservatism. No longer shall the people of Russia be driven against one another by a difference in ideals and class. All shall be one as God has intended. No longer shall the people rage against their ideals, their pillars of culture, but belong in harmony with the state and the nation. Under the president, a new Russian dawn shall rise, and the failures of the past shall be erased by the light. That works. What's supposed to happen in Finland? Caffeine flow? Well, a toast to our future successes. How's our construction looking all around? Healthcare coverage could do better. So we might want to expand some hospitals, honestly. We can expand some hospitals. How's our societal development going along? It's improving. Agriculture methods probably going to be the first to swap over, but I'll be fine, I think. Father in front takes power. Welcome, Igor Rostolakovic. Thank you for coming on our show. My pleasure, Sergey. Now, if I may jump straight to the point that everyone seems concerned about. Some politicians have called you a fascist, citing some of your rhetoric. What do you think? Well, Sergey, I admit that I may, on occasion, be overzealous in my pursuit of restoring Russia's glories. I like to think my rhetoric is, in fact, simply the product of me caring too much about the well-being of the nation. Oh? But what about allegations that claim to employ criminal activities in destabilizing organizations? I assure every listener that this is not true. I'm a man of law, a compassionate conservative. My campaign tactics revolved around appealing to the human spirit, to the past and to the present. The future requires a lot from us, and I simply do not believe the liberal parties to be capable of being able to guarantee prosperity. Those who do not believe me, look at Germany. They are fascist, no? Well, yes, they are. But I do not advocate for racial purity, nor do I foam at the mouth over revanchism. No, you don't. Then, all is well. Nothing suspect there, I'm sure. Let's do national democracy. We are building here in the Republic a democracy that will stand the test of time. Democracy tied not just to the voices of the people, but to the very vitality of the nation itself. To do so, we must introduce new institutions encouraging political participation amongst the masses, especially for ruralists whose votes we rely upon. It is their energy that shall drive a state onwards. It is their belief that will keep us grounded as we move into the future. National voting rallies, a push to civic culture, and enthusiastic political rallies will be a start, but be assured this is the work of a generation. Gonna get some poverty reduced soon enough. Refreshing. I feel like I'm missing something here, but I don't quite know what. Let's invest in some scientific research. While we're here, how's our economy doing? Well, we're doing okay. National democracy. GDP is growing. We've got some debt piling up, but it's nothing too bad. I'm a little worried because we're supposed to be going to war with, at least from what I remember, we're supposed to go to war with, Finland around now. So I don't know what's going on. Let's do the village idol. Too long have the traditional ways of Russian agriculture and life been ignored. Life for Russians was never so great from then, when they breathed the open air, away from pollution and noise of cities and factories. The passive man could work on the land he owned and reap the rewards of his own hard day's labor. Today, one can hardly enter the political discussion without discussion of how to industrialize and how to increase production of factories. We must reject such thinking. The state shall be reoriented towards a long disregard of rural life, encourage a return to more agrarian, agricultural lifestyle, rather. West African Alliance. Looks like. I know there's supposed to be some new stuff that happens in Finland. Oh my. What? What is that? Oh god. It's hideous. Is this the new Indonesian Civil War? Yeah, it looks like it. There's a Democratic Front. We'll see how long they'll prevail. Let's do men for tragedy. If anyone can be considered a great victim of the Bolshevik Revolution and subsequent Soviet rule, it would be the peasantry. The poorest of our nation were not uplifted, but rather crushed by an incompetent, overbearing state. Millions lost their home and property as the state seized all, and millions more died due to poor agricultural policy that the Soviet Union pushed on the people. We must pay reparations for the horrors they suffered through, and reorganize the peasant cooperatives operatives act more independently under the state. Interessante. Keep doing that. Oh god, he's got a gun. Wasn't a more, at least. It was not a more. Guessing they're gonna get this territory finally. Meanwhile, we'll swap out different motorized equipments. Yeah, good anti-air weapons. Probably a good idea, honestly. And with tragedy. Next, let's go ahead and do against small nations. For centuries, the people of Russia believed in the Brotherhood of Nations. In Russia, have been impressed by minority. These small nations, as Shafarevich prefers to name them, have held differing values against majority. Values do not fit into the frame of the Russian nation. Though long ago they have schemed to implant their thoughts and ideas to Russia, but through various endurance and verve of our intelligentsia, we've resisted these subversions of our national ideals. It's time to put all doubts of their worth to rest. We shall proclaim our age-long struggle against these nations. Let Russia be vindictive. Let rage course in our veins. Their ideas, their attempts at planting the seeds of dissent and resistance among these people, we shall toss out to the winds. For too long they've become our elites, our rulers. It's time for Russia to assert her own will. I wish we would start our own will over Finland. That would be nice. I don't know what is happening here, really. Is it a troop minimum? Let's get artillery. Then we'll scrap that. We'll get some tanks going. Well, those aren't very good tanks. I'll probably want to go ahead. Those are stormtroopers, right? It's a fun little callback to the Tabby series. Small nations. Well, let's go ahead and do... Let's end elitism. Oh, not that. The Empire had its nobility, the Republic had its bourgeois, the Union has its Politburo. All share one thing in common, an unabated desire for power by concentrating it to a select few elite capable of exercising authority. The fate of Russia was not decided by the people, but in the back room of political institutions, unseen by anyone but its bureaucrats and operatives of these regimes. Genuine Russian democracy had not been tried before, for it was frustrated and made impossible. Succession of leaders must end. There's a need to review the figures of the past, and the President's party would be willing to do so. These ideologies that form the core of their support for these elites, be it socialism, fascism, or online democracy, will be passed down before the government and judge. The government shall be the vigilant guardian of the people. It shall select and guide the common man towards a brighter, more egalitarian future. Moise Rosenberg, for your participation in the small nation seeking to undermine the stability of the Russian state, you're henceforth really free duties. The gray-haired Ministry of Public Works manager stared at the policeman in front of his office desk in disbelief. Small nation. What? Sir, I've been serving the government of Komi since its formation. Before that, I was part of the Soviet civil service for years. I worked so hard for the government, you can't... I'm not here to negotiate, Rosenberg. According to a list published by the new government, you are a textbook example of a member of one of the small nations who seek to subvert the motherland. I don't make the list or define what a small nation is, I just enforce the rules. This is because I'm Jewish, aren't I? You pigs are no better than the fascists who destroyed this nation. Rosenberg, pack up your items or we'll arrest you for insubordination. Do you understand? Rosenberg glared at the officer before gingerly gathering up the pens and papers on his desk. The officer watched him, then pulled out a list of other small nationalists who were to be removed from the administration from his pocket. Lev Edelson, Isaac Cantor, Nathaniel Cohen. Most effective codes are those hidden in plain sight. This is some pretty intense music we got going. Azad Hind. And that guy. Okay. I wonder if, Australians usually take Christmas Island, I think. So I'm curious to see how that's gonna go. Australia now owns Fiji. Looks like the US owns New Caledonia. Okay. I think that's a change. Let's turn to God's values. It was as if Russia had forgotten its progenitor. The traditional values that had governed the order of Russian society lay abandoned. Its followers scattered. The mentality of morality is regarded as embarrassing, and the youth, having no guidance, turned to decadence and avant-garde art for what passes as moral purpose these days. The state of public conduct is low everywhere in Russia, though it is understandable, for after all, a united Russia had not come into being in the last 20 years. This cannot no longer stand. Russia is a Christian nation, professes no faith as a single church, and the party regards it as a mere tool the nation used to reach maturity. Yet the values they propagate that become the benevolent custodian of the Russian soul resonate with the new state thoroughly. For its moral values, the Russian state selects Christian ethics. Russia was, is, and will be a nation built on the foundation of the values of Christ, though estranged with the church, though it is. Free civilian factories. We could use more hospitals. Nizhny Novgorod could use one. So we'll build one in Nizhny Novgorod. From there, Kazan could use a school. So we'll go ahead and build a school in Kazan. Although this area needs some infrastructure, it looks like. Well, oh, frames, there we go. Oh. 23-day revolution. There's a lot of stuff going on in South America. I don't fully know what, but I know stuff's going on. Oh, Kubitschek held on. It looks like the military coup actually didn't happen. That was interesting. Well, we had that finish up. Let's restore constitutional rule. For all its faults, the Republic was a bastion of democratic liberties. Its constitution allowed the formation of so many political schools of thought, a crucial component in any democratic state. During Shafarevich's rise to power, the constitution and its various bodies that depended on its existence became suspended, left in wayside as passionaries strive to maintain stability. As such, the people ask, what shall become of the guarantor of its rights? The president cannot help but grant the people their wish. He shall restore the constitution, but not without applying its touch first. Such alterations necessary to prevent the power struggle that sued before his ascension as the commander-in-chief of the nation. This modification shall ensure the opposition and the government will be able to debate their issues on equal footing, with dissent and violence discarded as a relic of a less civilized age. Let's do it. The battle for Italia. Guess we'll see what happens. The West African Alliance, a French military alliance. Got a freeway battle, it looks like. Oh, the race for the Urals. Let's go ahead and loosen some trade barriers. Do some joint military exercises here. We'll see what ends up happening, I guess. This looks got a nice new interface there, which is nice. The last one was a little, I remember it being kind of basic, so I'm not looking forward to doing this, so I'll hold that off for now. Let's do creative management. Despite our focus on a simpler, more agrarian Russia, the economy remains a complicated and difficult entity to handle. New government bureaucracy will create and handle our nation's economic affairs. The responsibility of this agency will include, I should have prepared that a bit, include management of industrial permits, public works projects, and the handling of foreign businesses in our country. Additionally, this new bureaucratic organ will be taking the responsibility of zoning laws, and regulation of off the hands of local governments. There we go. Let's get recon companies going. Those engineer companies. And we'll probably want to get working on adding recon companies to our guys. Yeah. We'll add half there. Another couple. Do here to him. Also go ahead. I'll swap field marshals. I don't know how comfortable I am having Mr. Tabby's successor in charge. Speaking of Tabby, he's still in charge of the fascist, or the Natsocists. America, what are you doing? Kubitschek elected in Brazil. Colombian Revolutionary Organization and the Free Government of Republic of Indonesia. It's always funny when America ends up supporting socialists, but it is what it is. Dominicans have their own guy. Haiti has a guy as well. This little nub is a little weird to me, but not sure the reason for the lore, but I'm sure there's a reason. Let's get some administrative offices going. Even despite our preference for an agricultural way of life, it's impossible to maintain a modern society without a core of technological intellectuals capable of implementing and utilizing modern technology. As we rebuild our great nation, we will need the expertise of these esteemed men and women if we are to eventually repave the roads and rebuild the schools and return to some level of normality again. With hope, soon our lands will be more prosperous than ever before, maybe even more so than our neighbors in Germany and Japan. It's a nice thought, at least. Well, Ireland remains in the Ion spot, it seems. Things are not good in Ulster. Then again, when are they good, I guess? Huh. There goes Germany versus Ukraine. Doing a kind of funny joke that everyone's kind of beaten to the ground. So I won't do the funny reference. But I will assign these guys. Sole teacher had not much time of late for mathematics. Getting Golod returned to his living room with his new kettle of tea. Shafarevich sat hunched over the table, observing neatly arrayed piles of paper. Outside, the bustle of daily activities winding down at this hour between lunch and late afternoon. I'm going to open the TNO Reddit. Real quick, because I just want to see if anyone else is having an issue with, With the Arabs spent most of their day exploring the Burnside problem, and others like it in group theory. Would a finitely generated group in which elements have finite order would be a finite group? Intuition seemed to say yes. How could finite elements of luminoscope generate that which is boundless? Yet naive intuition was dangerous to any mathematician. Now the algebraist had an angle of attack towards building a counterexample. For a given field, an infinite dimensional quotient group could be built under certain conditions. Corellia. Hold on. Where was I? For a given field, an infinite dimensional quotient group could be built under certain conditions. From there, solving Burnside's problem was much more simplified. All one had to do was create such a quotient group generated by finitely many elements of finite order. That would warrant at least some interest in Russia's dwindling mathematical community, perhaps the outer world someday. Verification moving quickly at. Golod leaned back into his chair, the warmness of tea mixing with the satisfaction of work well done. In this instant, it was so easy to imagine a path not traveled, a Russia not ravaged by war, not divided by scheming generals and politicians, a nation where his friend and mentor had a career as a distinguished academic, instead of his current occupation within the pack of jackals of the passionary organization. These past 3 years, Golod had lost himself in his mathematics, trying to blot out the outside world. Perhaps his friend would live to come out on top of Komi's politics. Perhaps he'd be murdered or exiled. In the meantime, could Golod blame himself for seeking some friendship, some memories of a better past, a possible future with his old colleague? Pure ideas, far from unclean reality. Well, that's nice. No idea what they're talking about, but I'm sure it was nice. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here, folks. I'm also probably going to ask the TNO Reddit, or the Discord, about what's going on. So yeah, thanks for watching, gang. Like if you like, dislike if you didn't. Check out the usual comments section below if you have any comments or feedback. Check out the description box as well. And yeah, thanks for watching, my friends. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.